All right, folks. So this video is on the abdominal vacuum. Okay, this is a question that I get or I've received from several singers recently. So we're going to talk about the abdominal vacuum specifically in regard to performance for singers. Is it good? Is it not? Before I get into that, I want to demonstrate the abdominal vacuum and kind of, walk you through a few things. So abdominal vacuum, what we're going to do is exhale, get all the air out, and then suck my belly button in towards my spine. So with the abdominal vacuum, and I'm not very good at it, but I'm basically getting more narrow. So one more time. Okay, so is this good or is it not? Okay, from a performance standpoint, I would say no, it is not good. And it probably is not going to help you at all. It might actually hurt you. Okay, and here's the reason why. Okay, what we want from our abdominals, okay, is really good control of our ribs. Okay, and so when I exhale, my abs act to close my ribs. We call internally rotate my ribs, and then the tension that is created there, the passive tension that is kind of created from that exhale and just generally is going to restrain over expansion of my ribs. So then when you go to re-inhale, certainly when you're singing, you're not going to overly inhale, become overly inflated and that kind of thing. And we see this a lot in people that are belly breathers. It's the situation where the abdominal vacuum is actually the opposite of that. The abdominal vacuum, I get kind of hollow here, and maybe a little wider there. And that's in the belly breathing scenario. It's the opposite. I go, I get a belly and I get a little bit more narrow here. So what we want, the ideal scenario for our breathing is kind of expansion both places. We want expansion here to some degree. We want expansion here, but also here. So it's almost like we expand front to back and to some degree to the sides as well. So any ab exercise that we do, we want to create this anterior to posterior expansion, I call it. Okay, so that's the story on the abdominal vacuum. Okay, but with that said, I'm going to teach you 3 far more powerful exercises than the abdominal vacuum. Okay, and we're going to use unilateral movements to get these, because unilateral movements are oftentimes even better for abdominal development in general, but also strength of the obliques. Okay, and again, the whole goal is when we can get our external obliques, okay, in particular our internal external obliques to activate, they're better positioned to close the rib cage. Whereas the abdominal vacuum, that's going to focus a little bit more on our 6-pack muscle, rectus abdominis, which is not bad, if we're going into like a bodybuilding competition or something like that. But for performance purposes, the obliques are our goal. So we're going to start on our backs here. And so I'm going to demonstrate the skill that I'm looking for first, okay? And then we're going to kind of break down 3 ways to get it. So when I exhale, I'm going to get a little bit of a side bend, and you can see the oblique definition that's created here. So again, when I close my ribs, my left obliques are going to create lateral tension. Okay, you can see the lateral tensions develop to create anterior to posterior expansion, because when I block the side, I get expansion front to back. Okay, so exercises that promote that are going to help us to kind of open up our chest wall, are going to help us to sort of control and, open our posterior ribs and control over belly breathing. Okay, those are all things that are desirable for a singer, and just in general, they're pretty cool. All right, so thing 1, in order to get that, this one is pretty easy. It's actually horribly hard, but easy to demonstrate, is just a dead bug with a block squeeze. Okay, so thing 1, we can either do this with the foot on the ground or the foot off the ground. Okay, I want you to put your elbow in. I want you to make sure, first of all, pressure back into the ground. We're going to make sure that we reach for the ceiling. Our upper back, our kind of the middle of our back is in the ground. Okay, if that isn't the case, I want you to do this with your foot on the ground. Okay, if this is the case, and we can keep this going, I'm going to take my elbow, okay, and I'm going to push my elbow into the block while bringing my knee to, while also bringing my knee into the block. Okay, you can see immediately what happens is it's creating a little bit of a side bend here. Okay, I'm getting just oblique by virtue of that. Okay, level 1 would be just to take a deep breath in. I'm going to take my other arm and I'm going to go like that. So I'm opening this other hand and just kind of bringing it out to the side. I'm going to breathe in. On the exhale, I'm going to squeeze the elbow into the block and the knee into the block. Get all my air out. I'm going to pause in this position. Then I'm going to keep that tension as much as possible. Re-inhale. And then exhale. Do the same thing again. Certainly I can make it harder by extending this leg out. Let's just do one more. But the benefit is that I'm getting a lot of lateral compression here to help to open this up, open that up, but I'm also getting a lateral opening of the other side, okay? So the benefit of that is I squeeze this side, I get front to back opening, I'm getting more lateral opening here. So because we're squeezing this side, you know, we're also getting a benefit on the other side. So I like to do maybe 8 breaths on one side, followed by 8 breaths on the other side. Okay, so that's kind of our first one. Second position, obviously the classic move would be a side plank. Okay, so side plank, I'm going to come up into a side plank position. I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to push myself back. Okay, and again, you can kind of see what happens. First and foremost, okay, I'm going to kind of thinking about bringing my shoulder away from my ear. So I'm lifting up in this position. I'm getting this side bend and I'm feeling my oblique. From here, I'm going to lift my body off the ground. Last, I'm going to push myself back in this direction. Okay, that's really going to help to kind of get this expansion going on. It's also going to bias opening of the back side of my downside here. So in this position, I should not be able to sort of like lift my elbow off the ground. If I do this, I can definitely go like that. But if I rotate back, that's not going to be the case. All right, that's really going to force me to push into the ground here. Okay, so I'm taking my hand, I'm pushing myself back in this direction. I'm breathing in. And again, as I exhale, I'm really driving this hand into the ground, driving myself backwards. And again, I would perform anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths on each side. And so last but not least, once we transfer this in standing, okay, one of my favorite exercises to help to get this same thing is the wall supported position. Okay, so what this means is that in the wall supported position, the way that I set up is that I'm gonna the side that I'm focusing on, I'm gonna put my right foot back and my left foot forward. And thing one is I'm gonna press my right back into the wall. Just by doing that, you can see what happens. I hike my right hip a little bit. I also drop my right elbow a little bit. So I'm creating intentionally a side bend on this right side, okay? I'm reaching with my left arm to further push myself back into the wall on the right. I'm gonna take a deep breath in. As I exhale, I'm gonna reach with my arm, reach my left arm, and drive my right elbow down. And again, what I'm feeling is this side bend, this oblique going on my right side, while this expansion on my left side. I would just switch sides after that. And again, you can even see as I inhale, the relative expansion of my right side, the relative compression of my left side. Right? So again, keep in mind, when we're talking about abs for singers, we're thinking first and foremost performance, okay? Obliques are going to give you the performance that you want. They're also going to give you, you know, the look that you want. They're going to flatten your stomach. There are all of these other benefits that come with it. But, you know, think about what you're doing. We want our abs to control the closing of our ribs. Okay, we want the stuff that we're doing to make us better, better able to take a better breath in and utilize a better exhale, because singing is essentially a controlled exhalation. Okay, so those moves will get you there. Try them in sequence, anywhere from 3 to 5 sets of maybe 5 to 10 breaths. Post any questions below. Thanks again.